The Cat's Pajamas, a story written by Ida Chittum. The Cat's Pajamas started out as a big piece of red cloth with white flowers. Fred folded the red cloth double and laid it on the floor. He placed the cat on the cloth and drew around her. He took the scissors and cut out the cloth around the crayon line. Fred held up the two pieces of red cloth with white flowers. He said to Red, his dog, "These are just right for the cat's pajamas. All I need is a nice long piece of red thread to sew them together." He looked in the sewing box. He found yellow thread. He found green thread, but he couldn't find any red thread. "Would you like to go with me?" Fred said to Red. "I'm going over to Mr. May's house to borrow a piece of red thread." "Arf, arf," Red said. Fred knocked on the door. Mr. May opened it. "Hello," Fred said. He held up the two pieces of cloth. "These are the cat's pajamas. All I need is a piece of red thread to sew them together." "1 second, Fred," Mr. May said. He went into the next room. Fred heard Mr. May opening and closing drawers. He heard something fall and hit Mr. May. Thump! Mr. May came out limping. He said, "Sorry, Fred, I couldn't find any red thread." "Why not try the family next door?" "Thank you," Fred said. Fred and Red went next door. Fred knocked. "Hello," he said. He held up the two pieces of cloth. "These are the cat's pajamas. All I need is a nice long piece of red thread to sew them together." The woman at the door shook her head. She hadn't heard a word Fred said. Lots of little children behind her were yelling all at once, and a baby was kicking its feet and crying. Fred decided that this was not a good place to find a piece of red thread. So he and Red went to the park. A lady was sitting there with her poodle in her sewing basket. "Hello," Fred said. He held up the two pieces of red cloth with white flowers. "These are the cat's pajamas. All I need is a nice long piece of red thread to sew them together." The lady reached into her sewing basket. She pulled out a nice long piece of red thread. "Thank you," Fred said. He sat right down and sewed up the cat's pajamas. Fred and Red started home. On the way, Fred put down the cat's pajamas so he could tie his shoe. Along came a great big dog and ran off with the cat's pajamas. "Stop, stop!" Fred called. "You are running away with the cat's pajamas." The great big dog leaped over a hedge. Red leaped over the hedge after him. Fred around the edge of the hedge. By the time Fred and Red caught up with the great big dog, running away with the cat's pajamas, a tall boy had taken them from the dog and tied them to his kite. All Fred and Red could do was stand there, gazing up into the sky, watching the cat's pajamas flying higher and higher. "Doesn't that piece of red cloth with white flowers look nice as the tail of my kite?" the tall boy asked Fred. "Those are the cat's pajamas," Fred said. "I just made them today." "Oh," the tall boy said. "I didn't know." Hand over hand, he began bringing down the kite so he could return the cat's pajamas. But the kite got caught in the top of a tree. "Don't worry," the tall boy said. "I can climb that tree." So the tall boy climbed the tree, untied the cat's pajamas, and tossed them down to Fred, just as the garbage truck was passing underneath. The cat's pajamas fell into the garbage in the back of the truck. Uh-oh. Fred and Red ran after the truck. Fred was shouting and pointing. "What's the matter?" shouted the driver, slowing down. "You're driving away with the cat's pajamas," said Fred. The driver stopped the truck. With 2 fingers, he picked the cat's pajamas out of the garbage and gave them to Fred. "Thank you," Fred said. He held the cat's pajamas far from his nose as he walked away. P.U. A girl was coming toward Fred and Red. She made a face at them and said, "You'd better not get that dirty old rag near me." "This is not a dirty old rag," Fred said. "These are the cat's pajamas. I'm taking them home to wash and dry them." When Fred and Red got home, Fred washed and dried the cat's pajamas. Then he looked for the cat. She wasn't in the garage. She wasn't asleep in the chair next to the door. She wasn't on the windowsill. But she was curled up fast asleep in the basket right in the laundry room. The cat took one look at the pajamas and hissed and ran away. "Now what will I do with the cat's pajamas?" Fred said. He looked at Red. "Would you like to try on the cat's pajamas?" "Nuff, nuff, nuff, nuff," Red said. Fred scratched his head. "I have an idea," he said. He stuffed the cat's pajamas with lots of soft cotton, sewed up the ends, and put them on the sofa for a fine new pillow. That's what happened to the cat's pajamas. Thank you. Why do you think the cat was called Red and the hero of the story was called Fred? Something for you to think about.